and think tanks, how can they collaborate to ensure that we continue providing the correct information for the decision makers to make the right policies. So with that, ANAPRI has been doing some background, and I would like to invite ANAPRI Executive Director, Dr. Anthony, so that you can give some background on what has been happening that contributes to this session. Dr. Anthony.
Thank you very much, Sina. I'm not going to take a lot of time. We have 2 minutes to get one of our colleagues online. Let me say, I think the whole of 2025 is not yet over. The ANAPRI Secretariat has been working closely with a number of partners. With the events of 2025 when funding was just, the carpet was put under our feet, and but we nearly collapsed. But I think we are regaining our strength and realizing that as Africans we need to innovate, we need to work together because partnership and collaboration is very key. I think the development arena, I think I always have said that in the development space there shouldn't be competition, because we are fighting to make sure that people's lives are saved. So why should we be competing? We should complement each other, but of course we can compete for resources. So we need to be able to qualify that. But however, we have come together and said, how do we start working together with partners that are like-minded? How do we work with the private sector? How do we work with development partners in a way that will enrich our work? But I work at the ANAPRI Secretariat. I don't represent my own interests. I represent the interests of the centers. So I've been engaging with stakeholders and partners to say, colleagues, what are you working on? Is there space for ANAPRI to help you achieve what you are working on? And during that process, I've put together a set of friends and great colleagues that have come to say, yes, there is space for us to work together. And I said, would you be willing to articulate that to the centers at the ANAPRI conference, and also to demonstrate to the other partners who would come to demonstrate to them that the partnership is very important. So we have online Jonathan Said from Agra. Jonathan, are you there?
Hi, Anthony. Yes, I am here. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. And thanks. Sorry, I had to pull you from your meeting. But thank you very much for coming through. So we'll give you 10 minutes, maybe 8 to 10 minutes, to talk about what we have been trying to cook between Agra and ANAPRI, and what is it that our centers can prepare themselves for 2026 going beyond. Over to you, Jonathan.
Thank you so much, Anthony, and hello everybody. Really nice to be here. Sorry I couldn't be there in person. We have a big training going on all this week, and so I couldn't travel. Otherwise I would have loved to be with you. So my name is Jonathan Said. I'm Vice President at Agra. I oversee technical expertise. And I've just prepared some slides here to talk about our collaboration and our partnership with ANAPRI, which for us, I should say, is very, very, really important. It's a key part of our approach is to support African organizations, particularly, and also in the thought leadership analytics space. And ANAPRI is such a critical institution. I mean, there hasn't been any country across the world that really hasn't been able to achieve its goals, to develop, to improve the lives of its people, whether it's within the ag-food system space or beyond, without having that deep local thought leadership, think tank, analytical capability that can not just inform policy in the local context, in the local setting, but go through the journey and influence that policy, and also help with the feedback loops for policy. Because we know that ultimately the way policy set is not just through papers and so on. It's also through relationships. It's through deals. At the end of the day, it's through political economy. And so being able to be part of that, to get the evidence, the science, the economics, the research into that and into that context of how policy is set and crucially implemented, not just set but implemented, is crucial. So for us, we share, of course, the common agenda around agri-food system transformation in an inclusive manner, and really sort of the specific areas that we are deepening the collaboration with ANAPRI, which of course has been going on for many years. But really it's about deepening is through these areas of analysis, of evidence-based policy engagement, and also capacity strengthening. The main areas around things like the data analytics, which of course is a big tool also within AGRA. We're very keen, so DNA here, sorry for the acronym, stands for data and analytics, but it's basically our internal capability that we're really investing in to institutionalize data and analytics. We cannot continue, and I think this applies to many organizations, including particularly and also governments as well. They cannot outsource it. It cannot be outsourced to this consultancy or that consultancy, and it ends up fragmented and disconnected and not institutionalized. So one part of the organization may know that a certain analysis has been done with data, with recommendations, but the other department might not know, right? Because there's so much going on. So you have to institutionalize that, and so the ability for us to guide countries to and also our own investments as well, our own programs, to be based on all the evidence that's being gathered by ourselves, by others, and have the right bits of evidence at the right time when the right investment decisions are being made is critical. That applies to any organization, but also to governments, as well as, of course, to private sector and non-state actors. So collaboration around areas like the policy prioritization using value chains too is really critical, and I've seen the importance of that piece of work. So guiding governments as we help them with flagships and priority investment projects, using that, how do they prioritize, and then once they do prioritize, addressing the right binding constraints and targeting the investments by government, by development partners, by private sector to those key areas is critical. On markets and trade, it's quite similar. We're really exploring and deepening around the Food Trade Coalition for Africa, which is a grouping that aims to bring together various trade actors, and we're really trying to and address both where there's issues of defensive issues around shocks. If you have a climate shock in one part of the continent and need food to flow to another. We saw, we've been seeing in recent years, for example, in Southern Africa, having that analytics and being able to guide on quantities, on where there are shortages, etc. But not just do it late, but have the infrastructure to be able to do that in real time to inform decision makings, to try to influence whether export bans or import bans happen or not, for example. The other big areas around sustainable farming, which is really, when we say sustainable farming, it includes a lot about the farmer-facing work through strengthening the ecosystem around the farmers, extension systems, the agro-dealers, their ability to access critical inputs affordably, but also it's about doing it sustainably with climate in mind, both from the adaptation side, but also in terms of taking care of our natural resources. Soil health is being the main one that we focus on, but there's others, of course, water, landscapes, biodiversity as well. So really being able to deepen that piece. And the tangible bit that we're currently already working on is the domestication of the Africa Fertilizer and Soil Health Action Plan, which requires a lot of the guiding analytics. At country level also, we're really trying to deepen the collaboration with ANAPRI. Here there's 3 examples where we have in-depth work with Mapata in Malawi, with the APRC in Makerere University in Uganda, and also exploring also with ISRA in Senegal. There are others as well, but it's really about also strengthening the capabilities of Mapata, APRC, and others to be that deep partner. We've really seen, I mean, country like Malawi is a prime example of a country that's really, before Mapata was set up, you could really see the gap in policy partnership that the government faced. I actually used to work in the government of Malawi, and I could see they lacked that partner that was there, based in Lilongwe, that could speak to the political, not just politically timely relevant issues of the day, but also the long-term issues as well that the government and stakeholders were grappling with, and bring the right evidence to inform those decisions and those discussions and the outcome on policy. So the country level collaboration is really, really important that we're trying to scale. So going forward, our plans largely are in these areas of data analytics. And data analytics is a generic here, so we're talking a lot about the value chains, etc. Also integrating machine learning. And the data analytics applies across. Some of specific areas are on sustainable farming, on markets and trade. Markets and trade will also include issues of corridors as well. So we mentioned the continental free trade area here on this slide. So being able to look at value chains from a regional perspective around the infrastructure, the transport and other connectivity infrastructure, but also around the policy space, the regulatory space around those, right? I mean, there's plenty of examples where we're getting deeper, and I say we, the community, and including governments, on knowing which countries have a comparative advantage in which value chains, and where is the logistical basis and the connectivity basis to drive that trade. You know, Tanzania has big shortages of, as does Kenya, on soybean, for example, and likewise wheat. But on the one end, Ethiopia has those. Zambia, Malawi, on the other end, has comparative advantage in those. So how do we actually foster, but use the analytics to really drive the addressing of specific bottlenecks, both whether it's cross-border issues, SPS issues, seed harmonization issues, and move the needle on those around that focus. Of course, doing that with the gender, youth, and climate angle is very important. So this is just my last slide. We're finalizing and working on an MOU around this, and Anthony was recently in our office. We also met earlier this year in Uganda. So that collaboration is key. And the last thing I'll say is that I kind of want to reiterate what I mentioned at the beginning, was the deepening of Africa at the national and at the regional continental level, that capability to do analytics that is not just, we're not just writing research for papers, for people to have nice publications and all that, but it's more about being able to make sure that the right evidence and even the messenger, because sometimes it's not about the message or the data, sometimes it's about the messenger, is able to really shape the way that policy is actually set, given the ultimate reality is that we live in a deals world. We don't live in a place where ministers and presidents read 30-page papers and make decisions based on that. It's more based on deals. And so fundamentally being able to, and relationships, and being able to bring the local context, the key relevant issues where there is a window of opportunity to influence decisions, where there are people in government, people in private sector that are progressive, really want to move things forward. They're in the point where they're scratching their head to find a different way, because something is not moving, we're not making progress on some key areas, and being able to be in the room at the right time and be able to with the right messenger and the right authority and evidence, shape that discussion in the right way. That's critical. And so that's why ANAPRI's work and building the capability of organizations like APRC, like Mapata, like Tegemeo, etc., is so critical. So I really want to commend ANAPRI for the effort they're doing in this place. And my last thing is to really commit AGRA's full support to ANAPRI and to all the stakeholders in the room. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Jonathan, and thank you for trusting ANAPRI to collaborate with you. I'm sure the audience here have heard you and they've heard on the areas that you are willing to cooperate with the ANAPRI. I know you have another meeting to attend, so feel free to stay around a bit or go for the other meeting. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. And my colleague Sibusi is there in the room, so he can also pick up on the hard questions for me.
Thank you very much. I'm sure he has heard it. I think you'll bear with me. I'm going to take another person. He's online from IFDC, Dr. Sadibu. Dr. Sadibu, are you there?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. Dr. Sadibu, welcome to this session. So if you can introduce yourself and quickly also try to maybe explain a bit on what you've been, what are you doing, what are the collaboration areas that you want to engage with ANAPRI. Welcome.
Okay, thank you very much. I don't know if you can hear me very well.
Yes, we can.
Is it okay?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. So nice to meet you again, to see you again. I'm very sad not to be here with you because I planned to come here, but at the last minute I could not make it because I'm currently in Nigeria for all the meetings, and the driver is waiting for me right after this my presentation. So I will do my best to stick on the 10 minutes and share with you. For those who don't know me, I mean, I'm Sheikh Sadi Boufal. I was a former acting technical director for Isra BAM for ANAPRI when Dr. Fatou was not available. So now in IFDC and Senegal country rep. I'm an economist. I mean, also here focusing on policy and impact within IFDC. So that's for me. As my former colleague, I will try to explain why we are collaborating, and at the end of my presentation, I will give some concrete example for 2026, the actions that we have to do together. So first thing, I mean, why ANAPRI and FDC want to partner to collaborate. First thing, because I mean, FDC and ANAPRI are both performing complementary activities related to fertilizer and soil health input market development and policy influence. So for those who don't know, also IFDC is the International Fertilizer Development. We are one of the world leading center or organization on soil health and fertilizer. Even you don't see soil health in our acronym, but we are very focused on soil health. So saying that, we noticed that we have a lot of common avenues, and as Anthony was saying shortly before, we need to synergize. First thing, I mean, the first thing that I can say is that we have a strong presence in Africa. And in many countries, our main partners are, ANAPRI members. For instance, if I take the example of Senegal, Isra BAM or Isra is our first partner. We go in other countries, this is the same. We had collaboration, I mean, with Malawi, we have collaboration, I mean, with Uganda, with in Kenya, and we have presence there. This is just physical presence. This is creating, I mean, just first connection. The second one also, we are, for instance, if I take our new strategy that we are about, I mean, to launch, if you take 2 of the 3 strategic objectives, it is directly linked with what ANAPRI is doing. Let me give you just one example, 1 or 2 examples. In our new strategy, for instance, the strategic goal 2, is farm impact at scale. Farm impact at scale, what is inside is what foreign soil, is doing. For instance, this just to give you an example. Third objective strategy, the third strategic goal of the sustainable system transformation. If you go to ANAPRI website, you will see. When ANAPRI is presenting themselves, this is something they are doing. So, and in this goal, we have all the policy issues. The advocacy inside the global partnerships. That we aim to, because in our new strategy, what we want. We don't want to play, everywhere. We build a strong partnership with people like ANAPRI on policy. We play where we have to play, and afterward they complement. And I think that this is the same thing we are doing with AGRA. Last week we were in Dakar, for the to launch the domestication African Soil Health Action Plan for Senegal. And normally we were, let's say, ISRABAM was there to represent themselves, but also to represent ANAPRI. Anthony should be there because he was preparing, the conference. That's why he was not there. AGRA was there with ACETA. Sustain Africa was there also. So I think that we are perfectly aligned. And we need, as the moderator was saying, to gather our force, to go together and to complement ourselves. Sometimes we can compete on money, but it doesn't matter what is good. And I think that we should go for is to partner, to make good partnership all together. The other point also I didn't make a formal presentation like my colleague, former colleague from AGRA. The coalitions. Africa Union, we have also there is Larry presented them yesterday or today, one day before. IFDC is leading 2 of the coalitions. The implementation coalition and Larry is the executive director, and the one on private sector that is led by IFDC and also our colleague Sheila, the executive director for Sustain Africa. And IFDC is member also of the West African Soil Health, Fertilizer and Soil Health Hub with IITA. And myself, I'm leading the function 18, which is the same than, the coalition on policy and advocacy that ANAPRI is leading. So if we don't synergize, we will duplicate. So that's why also this is key for us, to partner. So I will stop there and just give you one or 2 examples on concrete actions that we aim to do on 2026 in Senegal, maybe, and also, but Senegal, we want to launch, Farmer Know Your Soil. And one of our flagship former project that we had in Senegal, Dundalsu project funded by former USAID, we started, to work on that way, and we will try to synergize and to support ANAPRI on this initiative, Farmer Know Your Soil, with the work we've already done in Senegal, and try to explore all the ways. The second concrete action that we will do for next year, I mentioned it shortly before, this is related to domestication. We launched it, in Senegal. And I think that this is just the opening. We will go further with the ministry to accompany the ministry and with AGRA, be very, very efficient for Senegal and for other countries, because I know that Malawi and Mozambique are involved, and this is the same consortium. So just to say that quickly before dropping off, and I hope that we will sign, Anthony, our MOU very soon, because this is in the pipeline. We were supposed to be there during this. event, but unfortunately we couldn't make it. But we'll have our photo like our AGRA colleagues shaking our hands, ANAPRI leaders. Anthony, thank you for that, and I will stop there. And over to you, moderator, and thanks for giving IFDC this opportunity to present the partnership we are with ANAPRI. Thank you, and happy to see you again.
Yeah, thank
Even
you,
if it is virtual.
Thank
you.
We miss you. Thank you for being here online. For sure, as you suggested, someone is going to shake hand on behalf with ANAPRI as a sign, of signing the agreement. Thank you very much. Again, there might be some questions, but if you you have another commitment, we understand.
But normally my colleague Larry is around. He will take hard questions as my previous colleague. Larry, are you around, or she'll ask some?
He's here. Yeah, so he will take
care of the, Larry, hand it over to you.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Sadiq.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye. Okay, yeah, guys. So we've heard on the areas of collaborations, on what have been happening behind the scene in preparation for some of the signing of the collaborations. So we have other partners in the room that I would like them to join me on the stage. Also, they will talk about what has been happening behind the scene, what are the areas of priorities to them, what are the areas that they think they can collaborate with the ANAPRI. I have a partner from Academia 2063, Dr. Debis Araba. Dr. Debis, if you can come. Okay, it's coming. Then we have FAO, Mr. Mark Finn. Welcome. We have World Bank. Dr. Segi Zoya. We have a partner from SAF-A, Sustain Africa Foundation, Ms. Linda Akenyi. Most welcome. We have AFIDA, Professor Innocent Okuku. Welcome. We have Ganza Africa partner next year, so he's not here today. Yeah, I can step aside. Okay. Okay. So partners, welcome to the platform. As I said, just briefly, if you can, maybe introduce yourself again. Some of you, like Academia, was not here before. So if you can quickly introduce yourself and then just say what are the priority areas, what are the opportunity for collaborations that we have discussed, and then we take it from there. Introduction and, yes, and I can start with you, Rob. Introduction and the priority and what are the collaboration areas. Yeah, so finish everything. Yes, please. I'll start on the other side. Okay. Yeah, we understand. So, Prof, welcome.
Thank you very much, Prof. That's a title that the guys who have it end it with a lot of patience. So I'm not a prof, but it's okay if you want to dash me that as I sit here. Yeah, my name is Innocent Okuku, and I'm from the Africa Fertilizer Industry Development Association. So what I thought to do first is to spend maybe 1 or 2 minutes to introduce AFIDA to us again, because it's probably the latest kid on the block.
Prof, I'll give you 6 minutes.
Total. This is perfect. This is very good. Thank you so much. Okay. Thank you. So where do I point at? There or here? Okay, thank you. So I'll like I said, I'll introduce AFIDA a little bit and then talk about the areas we've been discussing with ANAPRI and what do we think we will do together going forward. Now, AFIDA, like I said, is the Africa Fertilizer Industry Development Association. I tried to just give a bit of a background here. I mean, the problem of food security and agricultural production in Africa, we all kind of know. And the role of fertilizer in that process, I think we also all agree the critical role that fertilizer could play in fixing that problem. But one thing that has been clear over the last 2-3 decades is that even though there's been increased participation of private sector entities, but there have been very poor coordination from the private sector, so that it becomes difficult for the private sector to have a common voice in conversations around policy, investment, how to progress the sector together. And that problem became more visible when in 2024 at the Nairobi summit, the declarations were made. Particular calls were made as part of that declaration to private sector to engage some more, do a lot more, and it was obvious to us as private sector actors that there was no way we were going to be able to, in a structured manner, contribute to that whole process if we didn't come together. So this is what gave birth to AFIDA. So then we had a number of consultations amongst ourselves, and had certain milestone activities that then led us to formally inaugurating the association on the 1st of September 2025 at the Africa Food System Forum in Dakar. So 1st of September to today tells you how young we are. We're probably the youngest in the room. So if you don't have all the stories to tell, I'm sure you can bear with us. Right? So what's a vision of AFIDA? We believe in contributing to having an Africa whose soil is sustainably healthy. It's not just being healthy at one time and then in another 10 years we've lost the health again. That process to be sustainable, and for our population to become food secure and prosperous. So that's the overall vision we want for Africa. So what we want to do as a mission is to be that platform that is very inclusive of all private sector actors along the fertilizer delivery chain to do two broad things. To have a voice, a common voice in the conversation, so that every time we're saying private sector, it's clear what the desire of private sector is. And then also to not just leave the work to develop the space to public sector or NGOs. We believe that we have to have a proper skin in the game of that journey. Now, we have pretty much 7 priority areas, so I would not, I've just listed them in the boxes below. Policy advocacy, capacity building and stewardship. We want to make more visible the role of private sector in this space. And let me give a quick example here. Between 2006, Abuja, and 2024, Nairobi, we made a bit of progress because there was one goal that we all remember from Abuja, which is to grow fertilizer use from less than 8 kilogram to 50 kilogram. We moved to less than 20 kilogram, depending on whose statistics you are looking at. Some people say 18, some say 20, some say 21. But I dare to say that the bigger chunk of that growth came as a result of private sector effort. It came primarily because people made investment in production. There was zero urea in for example, in Nigeria in 2006. By 2024, it was near 8 million metric tons per year. And even though there was no subsidy program in later years in that country, you will see triple fertilizer use in that country. They're still far from where they need to be. So you have some of these things. But we figure out that when eventually in Nairobi in 2024, we were having the new summit and declaring, it didn't look like there had been any value added by the private sector in those previous years. And we didn't feel good about that. So we thought we had to be an objective to make clearly and increasingly visible the role that the private sector is playing in this development process for the agricultural sector in Africa, especially for those of us who are in the fertilizer space. Then, of course, finance and trade facilitation is key. Research and product development. We have many of our members who do not have, they are SMEs, so they're not big enough to own their own R&D units. So we want to set up a system where we do have R&D providing the kind of information they need to deploy the right kind of products and services. Then, of course, market intelligence and data analytics is critical. The knowledge and experience. Now, so, well, this is quite a busy slide, but I just wanted to show a bit, the kind of membership we have. We do have actors that are, businesses in the space, but there's a room so for affiliate and associate membership, which includes research and development institutions, NGOs that are outside, because there are the kinds of conversation that needs to go between private sector and many of the other actors to be able to solve some of the problems. We are not an exclusively private sector association where we don't have room for entities like ANAPRI, like IFDC, like all of your ANAPRI centers. There is a window of getting involved with us. Of course, the core is the private sector, but the room has to be there to continue to have these conversations. And we have put in place global best practice in governance. All right, we have the General Assembly of all members. We have a board that is in place, a board of 15-member board, and then we have a formal secretariat which has just been established and will be running. We have very strong support from both the global fertilizer industry and all of our friends and partners in the development world, including AUC. The African Union Commission recognizes AFIDA as a platform for private sector in conversations on fertilizer, so that's important. So two key milestone activities before that led to the launch. There was a 2 days meeting in Nairobi. I think some of our friends here were there with us, where we actually sat down to apparently in an open manner discuss the structure of how the association will be set up. So it's not an association set up by a few people. It's an association set up by the entire industry continent. And we brought in our friends and partners to listen, observe, and play a role. I think ANAPRI had a representation. Farah was there, IFDC, So it's very important. An African Union Commission was also there as well. And then we moved from there to then formally launch with the approval and the nod of African Union Commission, all our partners. By the way, let me express gratitude to many of the coalitions who were part of this special side event at AFS in Dakar on the 1st of September. We were supposed to be like the underdog of that special session. I'm not sure we didn't end up becoming the flagship part of that special session, thanks to the cooperation and the support from all of these friends of ours. Now, so having said this, let me now dive into what are the areas that we see convergence between our interest and ANAPRI's activities. Of course, if you look at those seven pillars I mentioned, you almost can find an angle to work together with ANAPRI on almost everyone. But where are the ones that you can say the best fit alignments? It's in policy advocacy. And also in capacity building and stewardship. And within each of those, I've listed here the key areas that we see that we can begin even from 2026 or even from today, as you will see in my next slide, to start working on. Around the policy advocacy, one big challenge that we have. I'm sure if you've been here since 2 days ago, you had me almost harp on that every time I have the chance to speak. Subsidies, for example, are good, but we're not sure the way they are applied today they are helpful. If they have been helpful, the growth that we should have seen in the space should have been far beyond what we see today. So we're saying we need to work with ANAPRI and ANAPRI centers to let's get the right kind of information that will enable policymakers to make the the kind of reforms, I beg your pardon, that is needed for subsidy programs, so that private sector is not crowded out. Rather, we're working together to grow the space. That's one area. And then also, in terms of fertilizer quality standards, they vary somehow from one country and one region to another. And that's an obstacle to intra-regional trade. It limits the ability of one country's fertilizer to move into another one, which is really something that we need to allow freely if we want to grow fertilizer use. I mean, it often breaks my heart when I see that, for example, Nigeria exports 75% of its urea production to North America, and then other countries in Africa turns around and goes to that part of the world to go find their urea. Doesn't make sense, right? So we need to have a system where we can serve ourselves and take care of ourselves first, then we can move forward. So we need to have common quality standards so that it's easier to move products across, and then also the registration process. You find out that if you go into every country, either big or small, you almost have to start afresh registering your farm inputs. It's an overkill. The integration on the continent is not sufficient enough. So we want to hear from ANAPRI partners, what are the right kind of things that governments can do to create the reforms that will deal with these three. This is the starting point. As we go on, we'll see many more areas. And then in the area of capacity building, we're very keen and we are very much in alignment with the philosophy behind the farmer know your soil. I mean, this is clear. If a farmer knows his soil, he's better positioned to make the best out of the soil. So just from that principle, we're very much aligned. So we're jumping in with ANAPRI and say, so what can we do to actually get farmer know your soil to become practically implemented across many countries? So that's a very important part for us. So, and that's a part of a big, what I call stewardship and education for farmers and even for youth. There are a few other programs that are in the pipeline. I'll prefer to launch them first, then I bring ANAPRI in at the appropriate stage. But for these other ones here, we're happy to get started and plan the details together right away. Another thing is that policymakers oftentimes don't seem to fully understand the science behind fertilizer and fertilizer use. And we think that there's a bit of work that we can do together with ANAPRI and ANAPRI centers on that front. Now, where do we go from here? As you know, with us in private sector, we don't talk for too long. We like to talk and start acting like yesterday. So today I really want to sign an MOU. I want to sign right here. And then I want to start discussing what are the details. By the time this is November, but I don't want to end December without being clear about which countries, what specific actions going to be taken by who on the Farmer Know Your Soil Together, for example, at the beginning of 2026. So I hope that's helpful. And then once we start that, we'll see how the partnership evolves. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Professor Innocent. I think he needs more claps. Yeah, I'm sure ED has heard you, so make sure that we have the MOU signed before we leave this room. Yes. Now, Linda, please, next. Start with by introducing yourself, please.
Okay. Thank you very much. So my name is Akinyi Linda Koi. I'm the Interim Executive Director at Sustainable Agriculture Foundation. So just before I get into the introduction of who we are, I would like to express my sincere appreciation to Anthony and the ANAPRI team for this forum. When we started this forum on day one, I remember we were doing notes, and I had so many jargons. I was writing jargons, and there were notes that I was taking, but there were acronyms and jargons and things that I needed to touch base with people during tea and be able to understand what these are. So as the days went on, I had a better understanding of what these are, the terminologies that the researchers are doing, and the work that different organizations are doing. So I appreciate this forum as a learning forum, and I also have been able to make friends. Ironically, sitting next to Innocent, we have interacted throughout from day one till today. I didn't even know we were on the same panel, but I'm happy to have made a friend in another country and another organization. So Sustainable Agriculture Foundation, we are a legacy entity of Syngenta Foundation for Sustainable Agriculture. I think when we started the discussions around this MOU and this partnership, it was between ANAPRI, it was with the Syngenta Foundation. But we have since transitioned, and we have a locally registered entity based in Nairobi under the name Sustainable Agriculture Foundation. Our work still remains to do interventions across Africa and other parts through our sister companies in Asia. So Bangladesh, we have some presence in Bangladesh, and we have some presence in India. Our core mandate as sustainable agriculture is around how we can be able to scale up various interventions around smallholder farmers. So we ideally work at grassroots level to figure out how we can be able to get different interventions that will incentivize farming for smallholder farmers and to be able to make it profitable for them. So part of the work that we've been doing is around Atlas. I think we have socialized enough around the Atlas database and what the endless possibilities that it can do. But aside from that, we have other programs that we are currently running, which is an agri-entrepreneurship development program, which is geared towards how we can be able to create awareness to smallholder farmers and develop agri-entrepreneurship skills. I'm sure we are together up to there. Yeah, the language has refused, but I'm hoping we are together. So we are trying to develop agri-entrepreneurs from smallholder farmers. And ideally, looking forward, we need to get to a point where we can be able to delink from the programs that we are running, and we are able to leave the smallholder farmers running the programs and running the initiatives in a sustainable manner. So that is another initiative that we do at Sustainable Agriculture. And finally, we have a seeds technology transfer program that we run. And here we are looking at working with research institutes where we have, again, orphaned varieties, very good varieties that have been tested through the years, but then they've been left in the shelf. So how can we transfer these varieties and they are able to reach smallholder farmers? So part of the work that we do is around sensitization, doing trainings for smallholder farmers so that they can be able to have access to good quality seeds and further to that, good quality inputs. So in a nutshell, that is what South Africa is all about. So moving forward to why we are here today and how a partnership with ANAPRI would look like. So we are looking at a situation where we to complement each other in the work that we do. Our mandates are around agriculture and creating different interventions around the agricultural space and be able to promote food security. So one of the places that we are well aligned with ANAPRI is in the mandates, and us being implementers and ANAPRI being a research institute. We are looking at how can we transition this information, the good quality data that has been produced by ANAPRI centers, and we can be able to merge it with actual implementation on the ground. So we will take the good information and be able to go to the grassroots levels and be able to do implementation and further these activities through the networks that we have already created with the farmers, smallholder farmers. So areas of interest that we'll be working in the coming years. One of them, of course, we are looking at advancing the work that we are doing in the Atlas platform. So this is ongoing work that will go through into 2026. But then a question remains, what happens after 2026? We do not want to get into a situation where we are creating a cool tool and then it goes to the shelves again. So alongside our other implementing partners, we have Agnes, we have our RCMRD, we have ATI. So we are looking at how we can be able to go further with the Atlas work that we are doing. And if we can be able to use it, we need to move forward with the data validation. So the data is already there. From our first session, there was discussions around how we can be able to create additional notebooks that can go into the Atlas database. And then there were discussions around data validation. So how can we validate this data and align it to our government, our different governments that already have validation processes within their systems so that we are all speaking the same language. So that is part of the work that we'll be looking at. And then further the implementation part. We do not want to create a tool that is ideally supposed to be used for decision making and then it's not reaching the decision makers or the policy makers. So we are looking at how does implementation look like going forward. So those are some of the things that we'll be working alongside with regards to the Atlas database, just to ensure that we are able to reach the targeted audience and we are able to create the impact. And aside from that, probably the funding will come to an end sometime next year, but we are looking at who else would be interested in such a database or this work that we have been able to create, so that now we can be able to move forward past 2026 into the foreseeable future. So that is one of the areas that we are looking at working at. Another area is around soil health matters. As Innocent has already alluded, working with smallholder farmers, we cannot negate the fact that soil health is a critical component for them. So we need to ensure that we are taking care of the soil. We are equipping our smallholder farmers with the relevant information and the relevant techniques so that they can be able to improve their soil health. So we'll continuously be working with ANAPRI based on their many years of research to be able to develop technologies that can be pushed forward to the smallholder farmers, and they can be able to be beneficial to them. And then another thing that we are keen on working on is co-developing training programs and stakeholder workshops. This session is a success. I think it is proof that we can come together and bring together like-minded people and work together going forward with a common vision of working towards food security. So we are looking at national dialogues that we can be able to have. We are looking for forums where we can be able to advocate for farmer-centered reforms, and we are looking for like-minded stakeholder forums that it will be a crime for me not to say that includes the private sector, so that Innocent can come with his team. Yeah, so that one we are looking at that. And finally, we are looking at joint resource mobilization. From the recent concluded African Food System Forum, I think one thing that was clear is we cannot continue to move as an organization or as a country. We need interventions that are bigger, they're at scale. We need to create an impact, and we need to move at speed. And one thing that we need not to do is to be stuck in the planning paralysis phase. So we can keep on planning and coming to the forums and etc. But we need to get to a point now we are moving with speed. But in order for us to implement, we need money, or we need financing for the different interventions that we are working with. So a partnership with ANAPRI, one, it positions us in a very good geographical with a good geographical coverage, with the understanding that we have countries of areas where we have our interventions, and we have the ANAPRI centers that are well distributed across Africa. So together we are putting a very strong front as an African entity or African entities that we are looking to disrupt the food system, and continuously create a disruption in the system and create impact. So one, around positioning, we are looking at how we'll position ourselves, and then two, around fundraising, how can we create and be able to develop bankable proposals that can be able to attract funders, and we can be able to further our cause going forward. And for me, in conclusion, as a mark of success going forward, similar to Innocent, I'm hoping we can be able to have an agreement signed today. I don't know how possible that is. If possible, well and good. But then looking ahead in the next year, it would be really bad when we are coming for the next forum, the 13th ANAPRI conference, and we have nothing to report. So whatever it is we agree on today, a challenge to ANAPRI and South Africa, I'm hoping that we will be able to come back and report on at least one deliverable that we were able to either start, it's in process, or it has been completed in the coming year. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Lucy. Thank you very much. I could not stop you because of what you are saying. Very interesting. And again, I'm sure we're going to sign the MOU today before we leave this room. And I'm also happy that you have highlighted on what it could be the way to collaborate. So other partners out there, they are hearing you, and they can at least see how they can also engage with ANAPRI. Now, to Mr. Finn, it's your turn. Sorry. Mark, sorry. Marco, yeah.
It is
I can
working.
also give you
So
10
first,
minutes
first,
because
first,
the others
that
10
works.
minutes.
Yeah, I'll give you maybe only 4 minutes. Listen, but I will start with a disclaimer. I forgot my pen, so I'm not signing anything today. No, really, I'm not signing anything because the list is long. Let me first start by thanking Anthony and ANAPRI for the invitation, personally, to me, but also on behalf of our director in the region, Mr. Abebe, who opened up 2 days ago. I thank for the opportunity to the different colleagues to present what we do, but also to open this space where we can reflect more about where to collaborate. And as I said, I cannot sign anything. There are many pens around, by the way, but because the list is long. So, but let me perhaps summarize and be structured here. I can see, I mean, and once again, you know, for me, words mean a lot of many things, but we need to know what we are talking about. I said the comment before about agri-food systems. Do we all know what they are, really? And I come to the ANAPRI acronym because it's a nice acronym. So we just say ANAPRI, but we forget to spell it out. And ANAPRI means, you know, you spell it out. It's first of all, it has to do with agricultural policy. That means a lot to me. Because I mean, we also talk a lot about policy. Do we know what policy is? So I know ANAPRI, it's very focused on agricultural policy. So for us, it's very important to identify what parts of the FAO house, you know, can collaborate, because FAO is very big. It's a big organization, but I'm very happy that ANAPRI is about agricultural policy, and it's about research institutes, which means you guys have people in our member states doing research. So those for me are the entry points. And now let me just share 4 reflections, 4 areas where I think there is a lot of room for collaboration. But this collaboration should also be anchored into a policy process. And this is 4 areas where I think we can coherently support together the implementation of CARAP 3.0 strategies and plans. That process will need all of us. And let me start with the first area is on capacity building on and deployment of FAO's approach to systems thinking to transform agri-food systems. Again, we are offering a very nice setup to, you know, harmonize our definition. But more than that, how we mainstreaming? How can we mainstream this approach? And I think ANAPRI can be a great partner to work with FAO, and many of you as well, in mainstreaming this in 3 different circles. One is research, obviously. How do we operationalize the FAO approach to systems thinking in research? Second, as I said before, in teaching and academia. How can we mainstream these definitions also in the curriculum so that, you know, those young people who will be the future for all of us, you know, have very solid concepts and, you know, are not really coming up with ad hoc definitions of what we are discussing. And of course, how we mainstream that systems thinking into policy making. So you know the context and you know the opportunities as well. The second one is on foresight analysis. And I really like what I saw today, because what I'm proposing here to collaborate on has already started. What you guys did with the Mentimeter, getting all that intel from the audience, it's priceless, particularly for us to understand whether we are really doing good foresight or we are really, you know, messing things up. So here on foresight analysis, I think it's very important to collaborate with ANAPRI, particularly on the identification of national experts. We need national expertise to see if what we are trying to understand our future potential pathways are really well contextualized. And also we need national experts from the network to do proper data analysis with us and construct narratives that make sense. But importantly, for the foresight analysis, these foresight analyses are very important for FAO. They can influence strategic frameworks in FAO. They can even make it all the way to regional conferences for discussion with policymakers. So having ANAPRI also as a partner for validation processes and you know, expert consultations is very important. I see a lot of room for collaboration. The third is about what we in FAO call policy monitoring and tracking. Today, my colleague Cecilia talked about the FACTA tool. And here the idea is to see if we can collaborate to systematically collect information about policy decisions. That is not easy. We thought that we could, you know, hand it over to the AI, to the artificial intelligence and text mining. But I can see that, you know, there are many holes there. So we need ANAPRI to also tell us, you know, what are really the policy decisions that make a difference, so that we can input that information into the FABDA database. But the other way around as well. We need you guys to tell us how the tools like FABDA and others can be adapted to what you need. So I see a lot of potential area of collaboration on the policy monitoring and tracking. Last but not least, we do a lot of policy modeling, and today you saw about the concept of policy optimization. So we really need to rely on collaborations like the one that we could have with ANAPRI when it comes to you know, getting expertise for calibrating the tools that we have. These tools are very data intensive, but the data needs to be the data coming from the countries. And you guys know the context, you are doing research, so we can rely on you on that. And we also need collaboration with experts that can validate the results from these modeling tools that we have. We would like to sit down, we would like to be able to get feedback on that. And the last one is, of course, we need your expertise, your networking, and your knowledge on the context to be able to work with FAO to find the best way to pass on this policy advice to policymakers. You know, and that's why having national experts, national research institutes, is very important for FAO. Because, you know, we need that information, we need to know the context to be able, as a global entity, to pass on expertise speaking the language of the local politician. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Sanchez, and sorry for giving you a different name. Yes, and I'm sure when I give time to ED, you'll be able to address some of the concerns, especially on what are the limitations, how wide can ANAPRI do. Thank you, Dr. Zoya. It's your turn. 10 minutes.
Thank you. I like how you catch our titles, professor and doctor, right? Rarely used in our institutions, but that's okay. Thank you very much. Anthony asked me to give you a little bit of flavor of the areas of potential collaboration, and I flagged though from what Marco said, your specialty is agricultural policy research, right? And so this is, I'll be talking, I talked a lot during this conference on the topics I'm engaged with. World Bank doing many things, 100 things, millions of things, but I just want to focus on the couple of the areas which are relevant to you, and will spell out a little bit where I see as the next steps to solidify this collaboration. So we talked a lot during the last couple of days on fertilizer, soil health, policy reforms, and you know, we have this simple presentation where we need to go from and to. I work in the Global Department for Agriculture and Food, and I'm the global lead on policies and expenditures. So in my job, I'm highly selective what I worked on in each region. In Africa, I really focus on helping my country teams who interact with governments and other stakeholders on the daily basis to move the input subsidy agenda. Because it's not only important from the agronomy perspective or from business perspective, but it's also important from the fiscal perspective. So I'm the budget guy. I look on the budget. When I come to the country, and it's a new country, I often say, show me the budget, because that's where your priorities are. Don't show me your strategies. The strategies will be very nice. They will tell you very nice things. But show me your budget. That's what I know, what your real priorities are. And budgets matter because they can really incentivize going right or left. And there is no exceptions among countries. Government budget is the very small share of total funding farmers need for agriculture. Maybe 5%, 10%, compared to what the farmers spend on inputs, transportation, logistics, but they can be very influential to tailor or guide where the agriculture goes, right? And so I will not go through, you're very familiar with these things, and I think we in the full alliance where if we go to the right side, to the outcomes of the improved fertilizer subsidy design, that we are not against the fertilizer subsidy. What we would like to see, the bigger impact, and the bigger impact require a bit more than the simple delivery of nitrogen fertilizers through state-owned enterprises using blanket fertilizer recommendation, right? So we want a little bit more development there. And I see an opportunity for us in the World Bank because of the three things. What changed? I think, you know, this topic is probably 20, 30 years old, but what's new, right? A new couple of things. The first is the really fiscal stress. We see increasingly that the ministries of agriculture are reaching out to the World Bank to help them to work on those issues to justify the value for money to the ministries of finance. To be frank, ministries of agriculture rarely do agricultural reforms. It's the ministries of finance and economy and planning. I've never seen any minister of agriculture who would do disruptive agricultural reform and stay on job. Impossible. So it's the ministers of finance who usually do reforms. Jobs of Ministry of Agriculture to utilize resources in the best way which are provided to them, right? And so I see the fiscal stress, significant fiscal stress. I see the ministries of agriculture really challenged by the colleagues in the Ministry of Finance to provide the evidence on the impact of different expenditures and how that can be changed, how that impact can be improved within the limited budgets. So we work around 4 areas, and I will talk about some of them where I see opportunities for us to increasingly collaborate. The first is the agricultural data, and Marco talked about the modeling data. The results of the modeling depend a lot what kind of data come into the model. And so on the left side, I'm, you know, in the World Bank, I'm the global lead on public expenditure. So everybody come to me and say, what is the total, how much countries spend on agriculture? So we have data for 90 countries spending about $800 billion. On the left side, and you can see it's a data from 5 institutions, from 4 institutions, I would say: OECD, FAO, Inter-American Development Bank, and the World Bank. And the IFPRI is the partner on the X Incentives Consortium, where it helps us to bring together data, because every partner has a bit different methodology when they collect data, and so they need to bring together and harmonize. And what you can see on the left side, this gray area in Africa, you see a couple of countries. It's essentially FAO MAFAP project who collect the data on the coasts, on the left and on the right, on the west and east. Now, we have a plan, and we, as a group of these 5 institutions, we are planning to expand the country coverage in agricultural incentive database to 120. So we're planning to add 30 countries by 2028. Now, and you can see a map in the middle which countries we are trying to collect data on. The main challenge, because the agricultural support consists of 2 parts. It's a budget support, but also the market price support is the price incentives, right? It's something which consumers pay or the farmers pay. And that is the most difficult part. And the requirement of the X incentive database to have both price incentives and the budget. The World Bank has a lot of budget expenditure data across countries, but we don't have price incentives part of it. That's why it's not included into that global database. So we're really trying to catch up now, and we're only starting. So it's a great opportunity for us to engage. And I think as the next step on this, so we should organize separate e-seminar where we would bring the interested institution together, where we at least talk about what we try to do in each country, because it's mainly FAO and the World Bank. So we divided 17 countries by us, 17 countries by FAO. There will be some countries where we'll start and will not be able to finish. So we conservatively promise 30, maybe we will do more. But it's an opportunity to get idea of, just to introduce that project to you so you are more aware. And then on each specific basis we can start to collaborate. I think it's something overlooked in Africa, and I think it's one of the reasons why agriculture in Africa is moving slowly compared to other regions. In most countries we have data for, and it's not many, so I don't present the data. It's only 12 countries, 10 countries max. In the most cases, market price support is negative. It means that farm gate prices for output are below parity prices, either export or import parity prices. So Africa is unique in that respect, in the negative sense. We call unique when it's good, but it's unique, badly unique. Because in the rest of the world, the farmers receive at least market price, and in many, many countries, they receive above market price. On average, when you take agricultural support and you take middle-income countries, market price support account for more than 50% of total support, right? Budget expenditure come less than 50%, because these countries are fiscally constrained. They cannot spend too much. So they're using import protection tariffs, other mechanisms, which are maybe not friendly to trade and production. I'm not advocating for them, but at least you need to get to the point when farmers get market prices, not below market prices. I worked in Uzbekistan, where in 2018, the government set up the low prices for cotton and wheat to benefit consumers, many things what we hear in Africa. Farmers were used to lose 1.6% of GDP every year because of that. You cannot compensate it with the budget, no way. And so I think it's an understudied area, and I think it's maybe main reason why agriculture is not moving. But when I go to forums in Africa, it's not discussed at all. Zero. There is only discussion on inputs, on technologies, on that. But if farmers, not because of infrastructure play an important role, but because of policy, so this gap is the policy gap, does not get market prices, this is the main reason, and it's not discussed. So I think we will try with this project to a bit build ownership and advocacy and capacity on that. Second, we are doing public expenditure reviews in many countries, and here is the list. My last slide will have the scan code to the website, where all of this data is, so let's say the closed public expenditure review and the list need to be updated. Some of those ongoing need to move to closed now. I need to ask my team to update this for the next time. But all of the closed public expenditure review are publicly available, and they will be there on the website, which I will show on my last slide. But this is the second area, how we are using the data we collect and translate it into specific options for repurposing and complementing the modeling work which Marco team is doing. And finally, I want to bring to your attention that we already working very closely with Anthony and other partners to have ANAPRI as the official partner of our Knowledge Impact Program. We only starting it, and the idea is the following. In the World Bank, we go through many reforms. Right now, the ask from the management is to in the knowledge, in the global knowledge, we produce in many reports, a lot, actually. The ask is now be very selective, take a couple of areas where we think, based on the existing knowledge, we're already ready to talk to politicians and make a difference. And for entire agriculture and food sector in the World Bank, there were 2 topics selected. So the global team in the next 3-4 years will only support these 2 topics with the country team engagement. As I say, at country level, World Bank work on 100 issues, right? They work on land tenure, they work on markets, on trade, on production, climate smart agriculture, nutrition, food security, you name it. But my job as the global lead will be to support country teams on 2 topics. The first topic is repurposing of agricultural support for soil health, which is the alignment with your fertilizer soil health plan. And second topic will be low emission rice production in Asia, mainly in Asia. The African countries we will try to bring a bit late. This is only 2 topics I will be dealing in next 4 years. So the topics for Africa region, we will be bringing 6 countries: Ghana, Kenya, Malawi, Senegal, Tanzania, and Zambia. This is the countries where we have significant engagement already on input subsidy reform. And we will be working with the Ministries of Finance and Ministries of Agriculture in one room. That's the first challenge to overcome, to bring them in one room, but we will try. And to use this 3-year program, which will start in February 2026, we launch in Lusaka, Zambia, to really do peer-to-peer learning on how to. On the right side, you see the list of the regional topics for the discussions. There's nothing new, but I think what's new, I hear a lot of advocacy, let's say, for soil information system, but I see very little debate and guidance. What works, what doesn't work, how much data we need, what we don't need, because the final objective is to improve access of farmers to soil tests, that they know their soils. And when I look at many investments what my colleagues support in the World Bank and other development partners, it's everything in soil information system, but not services to farmers. It's everything. Is the government wants to know better what the land is, what the farmers produce, sustainability, other things, but the services to farmers are somewhere there, not really. So our job in the next 3 years to take policy measures, to take the limited number of the experts on selected areas, and try to learn from each other on how to really move this agenda forward. Because the World Bank has resources. We already spending in these countries millions and millions of dollars. We just need to make sure that money is spent better, and the design of existing operations and future investment operations incorporate that knowledge. Also from the political economy point of view, I think it's made bigger impact from the government to hear what works and what doesn't work from their peers in other countries than from the donors or from the researchers, right? So we are already formalizing our relationship with ANAPRI, and we feel that it's a great opportunity for us to collaborate. It's my last slide. It's a scan. It's a website on repurposing. It's my team runs this. You can find all public expenditure reviews. You can have access to the global data for agricultural support for 90 countries. You can find each investment operation, project appraisal document for each investment operation, which support repurposing in one or other way. And it has also a lot of information. There are many toolkits and learning, etc., etc. But thank you very much for the opportunity for collaborate. As Marco said, we see increased opportunity. We just need to learn each other better a little bit, what you can do and what we can do. And I think once we reach that step, we'll be happy to formalize many MOUs, because signing MOU sometimes sign an MOU, right? But I think we want really to sign MOU with the concrete things in mind where we can move actions together. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Prof.
Not yet, not yet, Doctor.
Okay, thank you very much. And we've seen the opportunity, so it's for us to showcase that we can do, and then convince them that we can form the collaboration. Now, back to you. Now, Dr.
I'm ready for you. See, I wasn't ready before. Can I have the clicker, please?
Welcome.
Thanks, Sergey. Can you? Okay. Well, thank you, everyone. So let me begin by introducing myself. My name is Dibisi Araba. I'm the managing director at Academia 2063. We're a Pan-African research organization with our headquarters here in Kigali and a secondary hub in Dakar. Before I get into the partnership, and you'll see why, let me just give you a quick overview of who we are, what we do. We serve as a mirror and a compass. I think from the 2063, for those of you who are familiar with African sort of long-term policy, you understand where that date comes from. In 2013, African heads of state gathered and came up with a set of targets, bold, ambitious, long-term targets for the Africa that we want. This was ratified in 2015. So here we are, 12 years down, 38 years away from what success looks like. So maybe before I go on, I want to invite you all to time travel with me. You know, if you close your eyes and just move yourself, step into a portal, on the other side of that portal is 2063. What does your country look like? What does the rest of the world look like? How is your country interacting with the rest of the world, both within Africa and around the world? And how's the rest of the world interacting with your country? What's Africa's place in this world? Is it prosperous or not? Now let's step back into reality. Now, we have time. That's what we have. That's the major resource we have, time, to change our destiny. We have the time to shape the future. And I feel within the ANAPRI network, I would call us alchemists. Because the ability to first form a compelling vision of the future in your mind, and then deploy resources to carry others along, is magic. It's a form of magic. Because first, the future needs to exist in your head. You don't just start a journey, you don't know what direction you're going, and then you're just moving. You need direction. Speed is optional, but direction is important. And so we serve as a mirror to help the continent understand where we are on this journey, and a compass to ensure that we are staying the course of moving in the right direction. As Academia 2063, we're not highly prescriptive. We're not telling you, to go in this journey, you either take a car, you take a train, you take a boat. No, it's go in this direction. Don't be distracted. So this is who we are, pretty much. And of course, we're aligned, and as you can tell from the name, it's Academia 2063, not Academia Agriculture and Food 2063. However, because of the compelling vision of the Comprehensive African Agriculture Development Program, CAADP, we are beginning with the agriculture and food sector as this North Star. And then we will expand to other subsectors that ensures that we can, 2026, from 2026. And now comes my thinking. There is a lot that we can do together. I know you've all heard the famous saying, if you want to go fast, you go alone. You want to go far, you go together. But, I mean, why does it have to be binary? We can still go fast together. I think there is wisdom in identifying who you start this journey with, but also ensuring that we are aligned on what success looks like. As Africans in Africa, your destiny is in your hands. Come what may, this is where your destiny, sort of where your story starts and your story ends. And so it is important that even as you embark on this journey of economic transformation across the continent, you have a compelling vision of what success looks like. And so, as Academia 2063, I think first, on behalf of the organization and all my colleagues, I would like to thank Anthony and the entire ANAPRI team for this successful 12th convening of the conference, for hosting us, for inviting us, for ensuring that people are able to gather and discuss what this future looks like. Chinua Achebe famously said, we gather together under the moonlight, not because everyone doesn't have their own space. Of course, I'm paraphrasing him here. But the great man said, we do it because it is good that we fellowship. And by coming together, we share the ideas, you sit down beside each other, you share ideas, find out where people are from, you find out what they're doing, their pain points. Stephen Johnson talks about where good ideas come from. He says there's a slow hunch. His theory is there's a slow hunch. You have, like a piece of the puzzle is in your head, and you're mulling it over. And then you collide with someone else. And someone has the other piece of the puzzle, and those two pieces come together. I think that's the power of ANAPRI. You're bringing together various pieces of the puzzle. No single person can solve all the problems. If they could, it would have been solved already. But by bringing us together, I think we can be honest with ourselves and share. Share what we're doing, understand what others are doing, and then figure out how we can collaborate. I have my team had sent me a laundry list of things that, I have about 50 bullet points. I am not going to go through them. So I don't bore you because I'm the last on this list. What I will say is this: Academia 2063 stands shoulder to shoulder with you. We're ready to work. I would take my cufflinks off and roll my sleeves up and say, it's sleeves up time. I have that famous saying. It is sleeves up time. It's time for us to demonstrate that we have the technical capacity, we have the know-how, and we can deploy this to influence outcomes for ourselves and for this continent. We're already doing that. It's hard work. You've heard from the other speakers talking about public policy and public sector. I worked in government. My big brother is here. Larry and I were in the trenches. I'm sure when you were listening to Sergey talking about fertilizer subsidy and all that work in Nigeria on the growth and enhancement scheme, it is very hard work. First of all, and I agree with you, Sergey, to have a maverick, say, minister who comes up with a disruptive innovation. One, to introduce that innovation. Two, to stay in a job. Very hard. But you see, you need a village like this to support your innovators. I wrote an op-ed earlier this year about visionaries, was it last year? Visionaries and people of vision. We still need visionaries. It's important. And when you identify them and when you see a visionary, it is your job, it is your duty to support that person. Because visionaries come up with these ideas that intuitively, initially, instinctively, you think, this is ridiculous. Pie in the sky. It's only when you have the humility to digest what this vision is, you think, hang on, okay, this could work, but they need my help. They can't do it alone. Otherwise, they sound like, in my language, they say, if you are the only person shouting in the middle of the market, I think it's time for your family to come and take you for healing, So you don't sound like a lunatic. You need a multitude of voices aligning with you, which is why you don't want to go out there alone, just shouting. You want to come to places like this to share the ideas, and maybe by coming here, we help blunt the rough edges. We make it smooth. I'm like, well, okay, the general idea is great. Perhaps you could temper it here or think about this. No one is perfect in their idea and their vision, but the support is needed. And then the people of vision. So the visionaries are the ones who conceptualize this portrait of the future. The people of vision are those who support the visionaries because you understand why this idea needs to succeed. And so that's what we're doing here. We understand the vision. And so we're here to support you. We're here to support everybody who is focused on this prosperous future for Africa. And so I join my voice, with all my colleagues here to say, I hope this pen has a lot of ink because we will be signing a lot of documents, and as was said, by the 13th annual meeting, we are not just telling you the number of MOUs we signed, but we're having a session specifically on the progress we're making. So we're reporting back on the progress and the investments. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for the wisdom words and for the, no, I don't want to spoil it. Let me leave it to my ED. Yeah, Dr. Anton, it's your room now.
No, thank you very much. It has been a journey. I think I've been in this position for a year. I have a lot of friends. And I've said to myself, to build ANAPRI, I look and go to my friends first. And it's supposed to be a secret for everyone. Don't make enemies, make friends. I've walked into offices where some people try to pit ANAPRI against, say, academia, FANAPAN, and I've refused to take such advice, because I say ANAPRI is unique, and it's unique in its own way. And if we play the game very well in that space where we are unique, bring the right partners on board, we'll go very far. So don't listen to people who want to destroy your pit. You are against others. So the team that you see here, we have been working behind the scenes to try to create something. Because if you cannot touch something, then there's a problem. And my team knows, the one in the Secretariat, that I have always told them, keep your eye open. Because if you don't keep your eye open, something will go wrong. I think you noticed the first day that the keynote speaker was looking at that screen, and nobody noticed that there was something very wrong. There was no screen here. And I was sitting there, I texted my comms person and said, there's something wrong and nobody's looking. And within a day, the screen was there and the program went on very well. However, it takes a village to really get there. I said earlier that development does not need competition. If we compete to change people's lives, we are going to fail. But if we collaborate, co-create, and work together, we are going to reach very far. I know some people don't have a pen. I won't blame them because they are big institutions. And big institutions, you don't just give people pens, because there are many other bigger pens somewhere else. But what I can say to Marco and Sege is that starting with you and articulating the areas where we can work, where the centers can help FAO, they can help their countries work to get that impact. Definitely, we can open more doors within FAO. And with FAO, I think we have built a relationship over the years, and we are trying to get it bigger and better, and we will continue to work together. And I hope we can really curate this partnership from 2026 onwards. I've already started discussing with some colleagues at FAO on an initiative that the centers will benefit. Sege. I was with Sege, I think maybe before the elections in Tanzania. I was the only one invited at that convening. It was the World Bank convening. But he flew me from Zambia into Dar just to talk about partnership. I don't see the money first. I see the ideas. The Farmer Know Your Soil campaign, if I tell you where it was born out of discussing with a policymaker. I mean, it was a communications person in Zimbabwe, a lady. It was a communication director who said, Dr. Chapoto, we've been talking about productivity for a very long time. What is wrong? And don't you think the farmer needs to know their soil? You guys, you meet in 5-star hotels all the time. Your next conference, maybe take it to one of the villages and see how many people will come. That's where the Farmer Know Your Soil idea was born. But to get it across, it has taken a long time. That's why I appreciate my colleague Innocent. He immediately said the private sector can take this. There are technologies out there that are not being utilized. Let's try it. So I'm hoping that when we come here next year, we will be able to demonstrate to you what we have achieved. With academia, we're building something bigger and better. So we will come back, definitely will come back. To my sister, the AAA work that we have been working on, I think when I visited the office in Nairobi, I said, this is a great office you have here. It's nice. I wish I had a nice big office. But we could see opportunities immediately. So AAA 2.0, I'm sure we'll get it. We'll talk to the right people for us to be able to get there. We also discussed about climate finance. I said, you see, when I was working with academia on a project called CASI, the Comprehensive Action for Climate Change Initiative, I realized that most of our governments and most of our technicians in our countries do not have the capacity to write proposals that can be funded under these climate finance facilities. I mean, I've attended few COPs. I say to myself, I'm not going to go unless if I'm going to meet my friends and we eat, we drink tea and curate other things. It's a big, I mean, these are big meetings. But of course, I've seen my colleagues go in a room, they're just sitting, maybe they're on their phone, but they say they are negotiating. What are you negotiating on your phone? So what we then say, maybe we need to have a capacity building program that starts with our centers as ANAPRI, because we need to train trainers. And then the trainers can then train in their own countries, because ANAPRI's unique feature is that impact at local level. At the Secretariat, we are as strong as our centers. So we want to bring things to the centers to be able to do more and have more impactful work. So with those words, I think I was fasciculating, you were not there yesterday, to get these 3 MOUs on the table. I knew the other ones, the big pens, they're not yet, but we'll sign them in other. There will be agreements, and of course these agreements come with a package, a brown envelope full of money, so those I can take. But with my African colleagues, we need to curate programs and projects so that we can get the funding we need to be able to drive the change we need. So the next stage that we have is we would like to sign a few MOUs with AFIDA, with SAFE, and academia. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much. I think that is going to be another session immediately after this. So maybe we can take a photo for this one, and then we. So before that, I'm sure you've appreciated what they've said, the collaboration, the intention they've shown to collaborate with the ANAPRI. So let's give them a big applause. Okay, thank you. So we can take a photo and then we do the signing ceremony. I was trying to skip Q&A. Okay, I can say there are 2 hands. 3. Okay, please, Mike, this gentleman down, yeah.
Good morning. It's good afternoon already. Good afternoon, stakeholders. My name is Moses Lubinga from the National Agricultural Marketing Council in Pretoria, South Africa. First, I will say thanks to ANAPRI for inviting us to be part of this forum. My question is directed to Dr. Sako from the World Bank. I'm intrigued by the statement that your keen interest in ANAPRI is kind of supporting the repurposing of input subsidies in sub-Saharan Africa. The question is, to what extent is the repurposing of the support aimed at covering what you are calling the underutilized or kind of neglect crops or value chains, given that in most countries you realize that there are those value chains that have been prioritized, so any interventions that are put in place are actually tied to those value chains. And that has a problem in that if a value chain has been well established over time, however much you sink their money or any bit of support, you don't see that big leap into growth. Yet these underutilized value chains exhibit enormous potential for a lot of benefits: employment, food security, name them, economic development in general. So in your package, what do you foresee, or how do you foresee bring on board these underutilized value chains? Thank you.
Thank you. There was another hand. We'll come to it.
Thank you all. First of all, this goes to, I guess, the private sector. I think we've been just like focusing on the donor agencies and how they can mobilize resources to support agri-sector development. What is your role as a private sector entity in the African continent setting, whereby then you can also contribute some resources aimed towards the development of the agri sector or agri-food systems sector? To the panelists, are you concerned that when a survey was taken here, I think what came out prominently was the future of African agriculture is uncertain? Does it concern you? And if so, what do you think then, ex ante, the role of ANAPRI, for example, what will be the role in kind of like defining a different development path such that at the end of it, the agri sector development will not be seen as certain perceptively, but something certain, all right? And then when you do, for example, this is to SACO, I guess, World Bank. You said when you go to the countries, you just don't look at the strategic plans, but rather the budget. Now, a network like ANAPRI, it doesn't have a budget. I mean, it doesn't have its own budget. So, in your, let's say, development strategy, do you think that think tanks like ANAPRI, academia, somehow can be engaged proactively so that you don't engage them, or they are not engaged ex post, just as an afterthought somehow? Thank you.
Thank you. Yes. Then there's a lady there. If you can be brief, please.
Thank you. My name is Lucy Chioma. I'm from Nigeria and I live here in Rwanda. And I want to first of all say thank you for this great event that's been put together. But I have been very concerned since I stepped into this hall on the first day. And that is, what are we doing about sustainability? This whole room is filled with people when we were speaking about job creation. But the question is, where are the youths? What is ANAPRI doing to ensure that the youths are involved in research and in policy creation? And to everybody seated here, planning proposals, MOUs, my question to you all is, what are you doing to ensure that all the systems you're building now can be scaled by the people who are coming after you? And what are you doing actively to ensure that you're not just building in isolation of the youth, but building them to continue the work, so that we don't continue building in silos where a great job is done, you're out of the system, you retire, young people come in with no knowledge because they are now the future and they don't know how to go about it, because there is no stream showing where they come in and how they can learn. And lastly would be, what is ANAPRI doing to ensure that there's a lot of sensitization and education around policy-related career opportunities for young people? There's a lot of push for young people to go into agribusiness, but the truth is businesses will not thrive without great policies. So what is ANAPRI doing to ensure that while we are growing and sensitizing youth to go into agribusiness, production and processing, we are actively also advocating for young people to go into policy creation, analysis and research for Africa? Thank you.
Thank you. Because there are some questions that have been addressed to specific individuals, and there are some questions that were general. So maybe start from you, Professor.
Thank you, Prof. I must go back to the academics. So I go and get this chair. I ran away almost 20 years ago. So now, once the prophetess says this repeatedly, then you must take the instruction, right? Just kidding. Yeah, thank you, sir, for the question around how is private sector contributing to the development agenda. And if you saw my slide where I spoke about the mission and the vision of our association, I did say generally that we have two main blocks. One is to have a common voice that we present when we're having conversation. But the second leg addresses what you're talking about, which is to actually contribute specifically to the development agenda of the continent. And we're already doing that in a number of ways, and I'll give examples. So by direct contribution, I can give an example. I think Larry was reporting about the West Africa hub yesterday and mentioned the seed money that went there came first from private sector. It's private sector money that they used to establish the hub. So there are all those kind of things are happening in many places. But you see, this is what oftentimes leaves the impression as though private sector is not interested to put money on the table for development work. It is this: the way development practitioners manage funds and run their operations is different from the way private sector works. So sometimes you want the money from private sector, but private sector can do for you 10 times what you want to do, what you want to use their money to do, but actually spend less than the money if they had given it to you. Because we are a profit inclined, we are able to see where wastes can happen, and we're very conscious about that. Look, private sector is about shareholders' money, right? It's a bit. I joke sometimes with my friends and colleagues in development, and I said, you know what, your KPI is around spending money. Because sometimes, you know, when you are running projects, they are telling you your burn rate is bad, and you run a risk of losing the project because your burn rate is low. Actually, your burn rate is low is an exciting news to an investor, as long as your deliverables are being met. Because then you increase your bottom line. That's very exciting. So because we are wired differently, we don't often like to. It's not so easy. We do from time to time, but it's not as easy as it is the way a donor will put on the table directly, these traditional donors, versus when a private sector is doing that. A lot of time private sector contributes by in-kind. All right? And I think for most of us here, everybody will probably know that if you look at the continent of Africa today and you check farmers' access to advisory services, for example, as an example, in the last 10 years, more than 70% of that access is actually driven by private sector money. It's not through public extension, but most private sector entities have established their own extension networks to provide information that farmers need. So there's a lot going on, and with ANAPRI, we're going to be talking about things that we can do together. And at that point, if there's money to be spent, we'll put it on the table.
Thank you.
The private sector is very keen
you.
to be part of this. Thank you.
Thank you. Linda, please.
So I didn't have a specific question, but I would like to respond to the question about youth. So in one of the sessions, the panelists mentioned that for youth, you just need to give them motivation. Show me an iPhone, how I can get an iPhone 17, and I'll be there, right? So what is the incentive that we are providing for the youth that are coming into these programs? That this can be a sustainable way. You can be able to get a sustainable way to generate income going forward. Yeah. So one of the things that, for example, for sustainable agriculture, we've done in all the programs that we are running, we are incorporating a component of youth, and it's not more to sort of force them into coming to the project, but to sort of create an incentive that will show them that they can be able to get money out of the programs that we are running. And sort of like a blessing in disguise that happened in Kenya is right now we have really scarcity of jobs. So we have so many graduates who are coming out of universities, but there are no jobs. But then we are telling them, as compared to sitting and sending out 1,000 applications to the corporate space, why can't you come and we can show you how to be an agri-entrepreneur? So we take you through a training, and you're able to get the skills that you need to be able to set up a small business that has potential to grow. And I'll give you an example of a young lady who graduated with a degree in business administration, majored in finance, but never got a job in Kenya. So what happened to her is she joined one of the programs that we are running through the parents. The parents were part of the program that we're running, the training, the aggregation model and training of farmers, smallholder farmers. And she was able to join that program, and through that she was able to learn a few things. Right now she's doing seed multiplication and has a network of farmers that she's able to distribute. So what is the moral of the story here? Let's create enough incentive in the agricultural space and also in the research space that will be able to attract more youth to be able to do this work. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much. You want to address any question, Marco? No.
Well, no question for me, but maybe just to say, I mean, picking up from the two interventions, and duly noting the functioning of the private sector is clear. You know, I think we come back to the policy. The private sector needs the policy environment. That's all they need. And we leave them alone because they know how to do the job. My country, I'm from Costa Rica. By the way, Rwanda reminds me a lot about my country. It's very green. But 45 years ago, Costa Rica started putting the policy environment for agritourism and environmental friendliness. So this is a country that enabled an environment 45 years ago, and the country is well known for the ecological friendliness and the biodiversity. But agritourism in Costa Rica is a huge industry now. And why the youth find it very attractive? Because to be in the industry, you need to speak other languages. You need to know how to use the iPhones. So you are enabling the environment, you know what I mean? So now, before people say agriculture is not a fancy place to be at. Now people really like to go there because they are producers, but they're also moving tourists around, you know? And this is how we have to think. That's why ANAPRI, we come back to the agricultural policy issue. It's about enabling the policy environment. And the private sector will follow. Otherwise, they will not. Thank you.
Thank you very much. You have some questions.
I will be selective. We can talk on the lunch on the questions yes. which are not for this session, right? I can answer many questions, but just the time. But I think I just wanted to, on the future of agriculture, uncertain. It's uncertain everywhere. Everywhere. But well, let me give you an example what Marco said about the policy. I was used to work in Vietnam. I lived in Hanoi for a couple of years. Yeah? The farms, average farms, are smaller than in Africa. They may be the same as in Rwanda, half a hectare. Okay? They have 11 million hectares of the cultivated land. Kenya has 6. I use Kenya because it's give the nice comparison. Vietnam has 100 million people. Kenya have 56 million people, or around, right? I have to look in my latest statistics. But it's about 10 people per hectare. Now, the annual agricultural export from Vietnam in 2024 was $62 billion. $62 billion from 10 million hectares. Okay? And they are half a hectare farms. In 2000, again, I just came, my colleague sent me this email yesterday night, and I thought it would be highly contextually interesting here. In 2000, export was $4 billion, 2012, $31 billion, and now it's $62 billion from 11 million hectares. They don't have more land, population grows, and they half a hectare farms, right? So, because the policy, and the public expenditure is 0.4% of GDP. It's nothing compared to other countries, right? So, I think the policy is really critical. You are the right people to start unwrap policies. I think 2 things matter for Africa: policy and the infrastructure gap. Let's be serious also. Electricity, roads are critical, right? But policies, they don't cost money to introduce, but they take a lot of money from private sector. They take a lot of money from consumers and farmers. Unless this is fixed, Africa uncertainty will be even more uncertain than in the rest of the world. So your agenda, what you are working on, is extremely important going forward. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Yes.
Sergey, I wanted to add a bit more context to Vietnam, because I've also visited Hanoi a few times. Now remember, the US bombed this country to oblivion in the 1970s. Correct. And not just that they bombed them, but there was a deliberate act using napalm to destroy the agriculture productivity of the country. In addition to this, as you know, when you go to Hanoi, every square inch of land is optimized for rice cultivation, fish farming, etc. And as the soil salinity increased, you know, and turned the water brackish, the farmers didn't abandon the land. They converted it to mixed cultivation, so growing tilapia, cultivating tilapia, and still growing rice. And then investing in rice research that can thrive in brackish water. So public sector enabled, private sector led transformation is the watchword. Again, Larry knows, we were in the trenches in Nigeria, and you know, we had someone who almost sounded like a lunatic as minister, you know, just shouting. But in those 4 years, we saw a glimpse of what transformation could look like. And so it is the persistent, sustained focus on vision that will get us there. So kudos to you. Chioma, my intervention is specifically for you, but you're in the room. Okay, I'm not going to do a census, but we have a limited number of seats here. We couldn't possibly bring all the youth in Africa into this room. So one is, you're already here. What is your obligation and responsibility to the youth? You know, now that you're in the room, your responsibility is to keep that door open and make sure others can come in. You don't come in and become the youth in the room. You know, I can tell you my story maybe over lunch, but somebody held the door open for me. I came in. Public policy is hard work. Anyone who works in government, I remember after my time in government, a friend of mine was coming into the successive administration, and he took me out for coffee, and he was hoping I would give him all the inside scoops. I said, no. It is a thankless job. You will work, they will break your back, they will break your morale, they will break your spirit, and no one will acknowledge the work that you're doing. If you succeed, no one notices. In fact, the best thing to do in public policy is for no one to notice your work. That is success. It's when you fail that everything is amplified, because it's failure everyone sort of zooms in on. Now, on youth, let me give you 2 examples of what we're doing within ANAPRI, because again, I'm not just going to speak in hyperbole here. In collaboration with Anthony, and Anthony alluded to this earlier, we are in advanced stages on a call supported by the World Bank and the Africa Union to support think tanks across the continent. And within this proposal, if successful, hopefully it will be successful, Anthony. I'm quite optimistic, right? Yeah. If successful, we have a component there to support bringing on youth or younger policy scientists. Those who want to work in public policy, interested in public policy, either through internships, get them MSc programs, get them on PhD scholarships, because it's a pipeline, And if you look across this room, you can see we're all not the same age. So it's already an intergenerational group. We're mixed in terms of our ages, I mean, please don't be deceived by the gray. I'm not quite sure if I'm younger than I look or I'm older than you assume, but either way, the gray is a distraction.
Thank you.
Thank you, Godfrey.
Thank you very much.
So within Academia 2063, we have a platform called AgroDep, where we train policy scientists. We've created a network, because we realize a lot of people come into either, whether they are trained in their respective countries in Africa or abroad, and they say, oh, they want to work in public policy, and then they come in and they find there is no network. They're almost grasping at straws. So AgroDep, the African Growth Development Policy Program of Academia 2063, helps to curate this network and ensure that you have a constituency of people who are working in public policy who can support you with the training, the tools, etc. Now, the challenge with AgroDep is we have high standards, very high standards of entry. You've got to have a PhD, you have X number of publications, etc., etc. And we realize the demand in public policy also includes people who either A, don't have PhDs, or B, don't want to go and get PhDs. So you don't need to be a professor, but it's okay. So we've created this AgroDep school where we have not lowered the barrier of entry, but we have changed the context. You don't have to have a PhD. And so for anyone who's interested in public policy, if you meet the criteria, then we can bring you in, connect you with various organizations as interns, just get you into that ecosystem. So there are opportunities we can discuss over lunch. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Yes, thank you very much. So from here, we'll take a photo, and then I'll allow some of you to go back to your seats, except AFED, SAF, and academia, because we'll prepare for signing the MOUs. Okay. Yeah, we stand.
I want to get a pen.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, you can stay. Yeah. So. So, Anthony, you. Please proceed. Once they're exchanging, yes, they're exchanging because they sign and then they will exchange. Yeah? That we will not even hear. So are you going to do all at once? Because we're going to send that three. Okay, you'll pop one the exchange and maybe we do one after another because we have got only these ones and we're going to do 3 signings. So maybe we do one after. They're going to be 3 signings. Oh, thank you very much for signing. We can clap for them while they're shaking hands. It has to be. Thank you very much. Okay, we can go back. And now, thank you very much. Okay, now we can have the opportunity to have academia. Please come forward. One. And then we'll do a one. One is there, yeah. Exchanging. Yeah. Oh. Oh, thank you very much. Not so close. A little bit. Back a little bit. Back a little bit. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Thank you. Now, Afida, please. Okay. There was none. Okay. you know, I'll ask you, representing the chair, when they go there, you bump, so that they show the document. You will bump when I ask the ANAPRI to go there and show the agreements. Yes. I'll ask you to go there together with the ED, and then you show the sign MOU, and then we pop.
Okay, let's go.
No, just wait once it's finished. You can stand on the right hand side of. Yeah, I'll tell you. Oh, thank you. Thank you very much. ED, please don't leave the table. We want the ANAPRI to appreciate the signing. So please, representative of the board chair of ANAPRI, please. And I can ask Fatma, please, if you can come forward. Fatu. Fatu, what is happening? You know, Fatu, they would think ANAPRI doesn't have ladies. Okay, you can stand there. If you can hold the... yes, and then you bump. Okay, so you can show the document for people to see them. ED, oh, okay, the documents. Okay, good. Oh, okay, give it to him. One more time. Just stand there. Just stand there. Join the line. Tina, just join the line. Maybe the documents, you are not showing the documents properly. We don't see the documents, that's why. Yeah. Yeah, you can. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Thank you very much. You can step down now. But we're going to do the closing now. So, closing.
You run the closing.
I don't know.
I don't know. You run the closing because we are going to invite.
There I've seen only three. You, the. You're going to start where you. Okay. Okay. I'm sure it has been a long day or a long week, but I see people still excited. But we have to close, yeah? Everything has got an end. So we are proceeding for the closing ceremony. So I would like to invite, I'm waiting for them to clear the table first. So I'll be inviting the ANAPRI Executive Director, the Executive Director, EPRN Rwanda, Dr. Saif. Dr. Saif. Yeah, okay. Yes, please come on this. Dr. Chapoto, please. And representative of ANAPRI board chairperson, please.
Good afternoon again, Muraho. I wanted to see who still, can you hear me well? If you still remember at least the vocabulary I taught you when you opened the session about Muraho. So now I want to, who wants one more? Once more, another new word at least to go home with. Murakoze. Murakoze means what? Bonjour. No, it's thank you. So Murakoze. So thank you, Murakoze, for being here for the 2.5 days. I want to thank first, not the organizers, but the participants. Organizing an event like this, it is not an easy work, but imagine if ANAPRI had organized this, and when we were in the room, paid the hotel, we didn't see participants coming. Thank you very much for having showed up. I know you have many engagements in your respective institutions, but having allocated these days to this event shows how we all in the room value this topic of agri-food systems. Again, I want to thank ANAPRI community and the centers. I am here representing the Economic Policy Research Network, but we are a number of centers under ANAPRI umbrella. And I was telling this morning, Dr. Anthony, wherever he goes, he's going on the back with 16 centers on his back. Thank you very much, Anthony, and the center and the Secretariat for what you do for us. So this topic of agri-food system is very, very important. If you remember what the Minister of State said when he was opening our session, I mean the Minister of State in Minister of Agriculture in Rwanda, Dr. Tresford, when he opened the session on Tuesday afternoon, he mentioned that what Rwanda is doing now, we started already domesticating or, making sure whatever is in the CADAP, Kampala Declaration, is already in our policies. We have the five-year PSTF5, and what is mentioned there, it is not far from the 6 pillars of the CADAP, and we started already domesticating them. So as we conclude this, again, I hope you enjoyed Kigali, you enjoyed Rwanda. I heard that you have to visit some of the parts of the country this afternoon. Two will be in Kigali, another one will be in Eastern Province, in Bugesera, not far from here, around 40 minutes driving. So we will have time to explore the beauty of the country. The topic we discussed, what I took like take-home message from my side, it is very important that as Africa, we need to make sure we implement climate-smart agriculture, not from the white collars in the offices, but also from the farmers. The project they mentioned with the farmer know your soil, we can't do a lot if our farmers behind there, they are not being able to implement what we are discussing in this kind of meetings. Number 2, boosting investment and financing. You can have good plans, good ideas, brilliant ideas, but when you don't have financing and investments, you can't go wherever you want to go. So to have that investment which is needed, we need that collaboration with the private sector, partners, and others. Number 3, We need to improve infrastructure and reduce losses. We need to strengthen the value chains. We need to promote collaborations and partnerships, the last session we had. Because it is not, I think we say that when you want to go faster, you go alone, but when you reach further, you go with the others. I am very, very sure together we can. It is not a one-way go. It is not a work or an engagement of one person, but if you work together, everyone playing his role, but having in mind that I am playing in the team with the other team makers, we will reach further and we will implement what we want to achieve. And what we want to achieve is to see our populations having food on the plates, but also in sustainable ways. If we cannot be happy to have food today, if we can't ensure we will continue having it in a sustainable manner. So thank you very much for choosing Rwanda, Anthony and ANAPRI to host the conference. And I hope to see you also coming back, visitors. Rwanda is a country with hospitality. I don't know if I am wrong or correct, but I can see from your faces you are smiling that you enjoyed. So please, whenever we are closing to we are getting closer to the close of the year, during your Christmas holidays, please take advantage of visiting our country. We have very, very beautiful sites which you cannot be able to visit, but I want to encourage you. I hope you, when you pray, who of you watch football? All of you? Like if you watch football, you know that, you know what it means visit Rwanda. Visit Rwanda. On Arsenal's, many teams. So when we say visit Rwanda, it's not to come to visit Ubumwe Hotel. We have many places to visit. Kindly, when you are planning for the holidays, try to come and visit. If you can postpone your air ticket, I encourage you. Not leave tonight or tomorrow. At least add 1 week to take advantage of visiting some of the places of the country. Rwanda is beautiful. And when for those who are going to visit the Kigali Cultural Village in the Rwanda, the Genocide Memorial, you will see that what we are seeing in the country came from very far. There have been sacrifices of men and women, strong people, but with the strong leadership we have, I am very sure you know it. So thank you very much for choosing Rwanda and for coming, and I hope discussions were fruitful. We'll make sure what we discussed will be implemented and informing our activities going forward. Thank you very much, Murakoze.
Thank you very much. I'm sure I was looking for my neighbor. I had a neighbor here. I don't know if he has disappeared because he was looking for the sweet, beautiful ladies. So I'm sure people are enjoying in Rwanda. Edie, please.
Are you an Arsenal supporter? You mentioned Arsenal. Are you an Arsenal supporter? Oh, is that a football fan? Okay. Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, I think we are close to the end, but it's not the end. But before I say my remarks, Tim, can I have some statistics on the board, please? You see, when you come from a research center, numbers matter. Numbers do matter. He was showing me some very interesting numbers, so I thought maybe I should share with you before I start thanking partners. Is it coming or is coming? But as it is coming, I am highly honored. Thanks a lot to Seth. I came here in January. We had our retreat here because we wanted to make sure that we were picking the right country, and we experienced the hospitality then, and you've continued to offer that to us. Okay, so I wanted to start the stats. So participants in the 12th ANAPRI conference, this is both virtual and in person. So you can see in person is 31%, 69% virtual. We had a total number of 543 participants. That shows you that this conference is becoming a good resource, a good platform for us to discuss policy. And in terms of gender, I wanted to see whether we're doing good. We are at least over a third, so 32% female. And of course, the majority were male, but I always try to say, you see, it's 1 is to, like this one, I'll say 1 is to 0. So it's, yeah, 1 is to 0.3. So for every woman, there are 3 men. That's how powerful the women are. Right? We have very powerful women and they can represent 3 men. Right? So gender-wise, I think we are doing okay. We'll try to do better each time. We have tried to balance our sessions very well. And then in terms of country coverage, 27 countries represented by in-person participants. And you can see the map. You know, I love my guys. They said, we will not just give you the numbers, we'll produce the world map so that we can color it for you. So this, you can see that we are trying to cover the globe, and these statistics gives us an opportunity to do better next time. We'll invite other people from other countries and continents. And in terms of institutions, 92 institutions participated in person. And out of the 543, there are many other institutions that participated in this conference. I think with that, ladies and gentlemen, let me now say a few words. I know you have just seen Seth, and you think he was the host. Yes, he is the host, he is the head. Let me take this opportunity to invite all EPRN, our team members that were helping to put this conference together. EPRN colleagues, are they inside? Or maybe you can raise your hand. I think they're outside, they're still, okay, I see a hand there. They're outside, they're trying to still get things in order for us. They're yes. And you've also just heard that I'm a bully. I make people, I don't give them a chance to say anything. I fascipulate, but this fascipulation is influenced by other people in the Secretariat. So I would like to invite the whole ANAPRI Secretariat to come forward, and all the volunteers that have come to help us, please come forward. Come forward. Tim, Adetola, Harriet, everyone come in, come, please, come. I want people to see who has been behind this conference. It's not me. It's not me. We have finance people, we have admin people, we have comms people. You know, my communication team is very small. It's not like other institutions that have a gazillion of people, but Adetola there has done wonders in the past year.
Yeah, I think they can get behind you and then we'll
so
take
that we can take a picture.
Yes.
So, Seth, you can also come.
You have no choice.
RD, please come. Birasa. So there's someone, I think my sister says youth. I'm probably the only one who is in the late 50s. Look behind you and see what we are promoting at ANAPRI. It's a mix of men and women. And these are the people that were behind this conference. And colleagues, let me take this opportunity to say thank you. Together, together we will build the next conference. Where, I don't know, we'll let you know. Thank you very much. Oh, there's a picture. There's a picture. We need a picture. Now let me proceed to, you see, a conference, for it to run, it requires resources. If you don't have money, you can't fly people. If you don't have money, you can't feed people. If you don't have money, you can't make people enjoy the beautiful Rwanda. So it is my privilege and I want to thank all partners. FAO, you have been a all-weather partner. Every year we try to create something, but I think this year I said no. Instead of me just writing to say, can I please request Eritu, I want us to create a long-term partnership so that at least you can think about ANAPRI as you are budgeting. The resources are being scarce, so you cannot, when you come mid-year, resources have already been allocated, so it's better to plan from the start. So that's something that we have been discussing with FAO. We also have funding from SAF-A through a grant provided by the Gates Foundation. That's why you could see us doing the AAA. We also had some resources from the World Bank. And I can tell you, I met Luke in India when I went for some meetings there, and I told Luke that jobs and youth are very important. Fortunately, the World Bank is a flagship on jobs and agri-food systems, and he called me sometime in March, and then we curated a program, and that I have learned that probably that's one of the best ways to bring diverse people from different countries, and we will get better next year. We also have ULET Foundation. We have a project with them, and basically this project is saying we need to be the go-to centers in our countries. So we are trying something in Uganda and in DRC where we second our staff to the ministries. But we want to do it in a different way, because you see, policy is not an event. Policy is what they discuss every day in the ministry. But we want them to be a feedback loop to the centers, so that the centers can be producing products that respond to the needs of the government. And we are also trying now to write out a proposal where we fuse that in some of our programs, because we want to do what we call track and trace. But how do you track and trace if you're outside? We want to go and influence the change and be able to track, trace, have the impact we need, and more resources will come that way, because when you demonstrate impact, then we can get there. And also let me thank the centers. Not all centers, ANAPRI centers are not the same. Some are more endowed than others. Some have been around for a long time, some are brand new. We also have centers in universities, and we are trying to say, how do we utilize these centers? I think people are talking about issues of skills, education. So how do we leverage such kind of centers in universities? So some of the centers says, no, ED, please don't even buy my ticket or pay for my room. I am coming on my own. Because this is our annual event, so we usually say, okay, all our centers, we want them to be there. So thank you to all those centers that came forward to contribute to this conference. And last but not least, I've met some people, because you see, now when we advertise for this conference, I'm sure you have noticed that we don't charge registration fees. It's deliberate. In policy, We want some people to say, I would like to go to that conference. So there are those self-sponsored delegates, and I've seen many here. I would like to take this opportunity to say thank you, and I hope conference has been good, it has been beneficial for you and your institution. And if you see an opportunity where we can collaborate, please don't hesitate to reach out. I'm sure we should be able to curate something together. With those words, people, I may be fired, so I have to make sure that my board chair says the last word and closes the conference. And as I indicated that Dr. Peter Damas couldn't travel because of the elections in Tanzania. So he is ably represented by Dr. Salamumbai, another board member. Over to you. Thank you. Thank you.
And I think is the invention of words, this issue of stipulation. I think I will have to engage the King of England to declare him a persona non grata. Wow, what an incredible number of days we've had. But before we dive into what's next, please join me in giving a massive round of applause to yourself and everybody in this room. Yeah, I also, on behalf of the board, just want to acknowledge the organizing team, Chapoto, Anthony, and the secretariat, the sponsors. I think I'm forced to once again mention them. FAO, I think you've been around the block, and we are very thankful, and we appreciate your presence. The Gates Foundation, the World Bank, and the individual centers, and most importantly, I think, Seth, thank you for being a brilliant host. I think I must just declare my interest. Last year when we were deciding where we'll take this 12th conference, I was one of those that gave a vote, just declaring. But what was the interest at the time? I think I was keen to appreciate, what is happening in this country. From a development perspective, I think here we're talking about policies, but if policies are not followed by action, I think we'll end up nowhere. So once again, thank you for being a brilliant host. And most importantly, we've had a number of global and world-class speakers from all spheres, from industry, from academic, policymakers, and so on. Can we just give all those speakers a big round of applause again? And then, of course, the attendees. I think you've been a brilliant group or audience, all together from an engagement perspective, also from cross-learning, perspective. I was just a little bit worried, Innocent, yesterday when we had our session. But also, I think our discussions, you would appreciate that our discussions and our engagement has a lot of, humility in it. And as we engage, as we talk to each other, we appreciate each other. And I'm always, fascinated by the activities that we are battling with as a continent, Africa. In other continents, in other countries, they are talking about going to Mars, right? I don't know what is there, right? The interest in going there. And the problems that we have, or the challenges, or the opportunities, depending on how you look at it, those opportunities can only be solved by ourselves, right? And it's imperative as African states that we start prioritizing funding, R&D. I think we've heard from our professor here the other day, funding our own initiatives. Our development partners are, of course, right there to assist us, where we are falling short. And it shouldn't be the other way around. Our development budget, our R&D budget, for the research centers must be funded by our own governments so that we solve our own problems. I'm actually now coming to the end of what I was asked to say. It's actually very sweet to be in this position. And I don't want to give it away. But unfortunately, my tenure will end in the next few seconds. I would now officially declare this conference closed. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. I'm not supposed to say any word after this session has been closed, but I've got two logistical issues. One of it, there's an email that was sent to you